Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. It is our Keystone with Kenny. We have two special guests tonight, Lance McAlister and Dave Lapham. And Lance is actually going to take Kenny's role and do some of the interviewing and start the dialogue off for us. Pretty excited about it. I'm going to go ahead and bring Mr. Lance McAlister in, let him introduce himself for those of you who don't know him, and we'll get started from there.
Yeah, dude, you want to go to the one that says
Lance?
Kevin, how are you?
I am good. Thank you for joining us tonight and for putting this together. And we're pretty excited.
Well, I'm excited and I'm honored. I'm somebody who grew up in this town, and I've always joked when I was playing football in the backyard, when I was throwing a Nerf football, I was Kenny Anderson, and when I was catching it, I was Isaac Curtis. And the fact that over the years I've been able to watch Kenny and Dave Lapham play, and then been able to work with both of them, and to be asked to do this with two guys I consider now friends means a great deal to me, and I can't wait.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm new to the Cincinnati area. I moved up here 2 years ago, and I've been indoctrinated into Bengals football and into Kenny's amazing career, and it's been exciting. A lot of neat stuff. Kenny's got a pretty amazing, him and Dave both, pretty amazing, career in the NFL. So
yeah,
looking forward to hearing more from him.
I can't wait to ask him about that, because by my calculations, their friendship goes back now some 46 years. So the stories, wow, tales they could tell, they should write a book. So I can't wait to ask him about it.
They should definitely write a book. They should. So most definitely. Looks like we've got Kenny coming in here.
Yeah, just trying to coordinate it with my roommate for all those years, Lapham, on how to get on the show. He thought he had it, he went to the wrong link. And, the end result is, with Paul Brown, if you're late, you get fined. Somehow he'll get fined for this. So, luckily I had my wife. I was having troubles too, and Christy got me all signed on. But Lance, I can't thank you enough for doing this. This is going to be a lot of fun tonight.
Well, I can't wait. And I laugh because I know I've tried to get Dave on Twitter for years, and now you're throwing StreamYard at him. And Dave probably trying to figure out StreamYard, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, all of them. And it's probably tougher than any game plan he had to prepare for.
Well, while we're waiting for him, I want to remind people to go on to KenAndersonAlliance.org to get your raffle tickets. We're raffling off a signed jersey of mine, a helmet. It's half the old, half the new. We've got dinner for 4 at Walt's Hitching Post with Christy and I, and also 4 Ultimate Airlines shuttle tickets. And we are going to draw our next show. We won't be on in 2 Thursdays. That's Thanksgiving. Our next show is going to be December 10th. We're going to do the drawings then, and want to remind you that we're not going to do the Walt's Hitching Post, the dinner there, because it doesn't include alcohol unless we get $1,000. And we're not going to do the 4 Ultimate Airlines shuttle tickets unless we get 15. So we may have to carry over those until the next year. So make sure you go on, and we're going to do the jersey and the helmet for sure on December 10th. So make sure you go on KenAndersonAlliance.org to go ahead and get your raffle tickets for those things. But, Lance, I really appreciate you doing this for us, because we kind of turned the tables that a lot of people said, hey, we really like the guests that you're having, but we kind of like to hear some things from you. So I said, well, who knows the Bengals and me better than you? And then I was a little nervous. I said, I better bring Lapham on to help me out. So, don't grill me too bad, if that's okay.
Yeah, well, here's the funny thing, and why I'm so excited to do this. I think so many people know you, Kenny, through your play, obviously, and the numbers and the Pro Bowls. I get a kick out of the fact that usually back in the day, you would have been practicing and preparing for a game, and yet we fast forward to 2020, and you're playing the role of grandfather and trying to corral the grandkids. What is that experience like compared to getting ready for a football game?
This is so good. You have so much for the grandkids because you can spoil them and then give them back. And little kid, my son Matt's young daughter is a year and a half, and she's the one that we haven't spent as much time with as the other. We haven't been up here quite as much because of COVID and that. So really, I've been looking forward to these 5 days, and she's been unbelievable. I mean, she goes to bed at 7 o'clock at night, and we don't have to get her out of her crib until 7 in the morning. She is just content, sleeps well, and then she goes down at noon for a 3-hour nap, and then she wakes up from a smile there, and it's too easy, you know. I mean, she is just good-natured all the time. The best thing, though, is with the other grandkids, I really got into Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, and I'm really catching up on those episodes. She and I sit there in the morning, watch Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, and I'm having a blast. Excuse me, Mr. Lapham, I see that you're with us.
Yes, sir.
You know, I'm looking at Paul Brown makes no excuses. As I remember, you're late. I have a flat tire. Plan for it.
Yeah, that's true.
You're late coming out here. This started at 5 o'clock. Technical difficulties. Plan for it. We'll come up with a fine for this, and you'll owe me later.
Yeah, it's severe. It's severe. But IT challenge would be an understatement.
Well, guys, if I can start it off, and this is the thing that amazed me, and just going back and looking at the history of you two, and for fans to maybe understand the time frame. Kenny, you come into the league in 71 as a rookie. Dave's a rookie in 74. So I'm assuming 74 would have been the first time you guys met each other. And that means you have been friends for 46 plus years. Just tell us about the friendship and the bond. I mean, there's teammates I'm sure you've kept in touch with over the years, but 46 years is a pretty strong friendship and bond, I would say.
Well, you know, besides being, you know, one of my offensive linemen, there's always a special bond between, you know, quarterback and his offensive line. I think more than anything that you know, for a lot of years, Dave and I roomed together, and you know, we kind of got married around the same time, had kids around the same time, so we had so many things going on in our lives that were very similar, and then you know, kind of including football. And you know, he was there for the good times, he was there for the bad times, and then he was there for the good times again. And so he walked me through a lot of stuff mentally during those times. And, you know, and like I say, it's my career wouldn't have been the same without him.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say that nobody cared more about the game, his teammates, his family, you know, everything than Kenny Anderson. I mean, so many great players, you find that, you know, they're great because they've been blessed. You know, God blessed them with so many physical talents. But Kenny's a prime example of an unbelievably great player, but even a better human being. So, I mean, he's just one of those guys where, you know, every once in a while in life you come across people that are just top shelf in every category, check every box, plus, you know, and that's Ken Anderson for sure.
Guys, you mentioned road roommates. Was that by choice? Did Paul assign you as road roommates? How did it come about?
I'm not sure, Dave. I remembered. I
remember
what happened. I know Turk and I didn't work out real good for a while, and, you know, and 2 years before you, which was an offensive lineman, and you know, Bruce Coslett didn't work out. He, you know, the TV's on, he's asleep with his eyes open. He was just kind of a funky guy. But when did we start rooming together?
I think it was right. I was right after John Shinner's. So, you know, I think you wanted to stay with an offensive lineman as such, and so I was honored. It was more. I think I was selected, which I felt honored about. So that was great. I mean, I was excited about it, and I'll tell you what. Kenny Anderson wanted to know every single nuance of his game plan. And the dude, he was up at night, up early in the morning, you know, cross-check, double-check. There was nobody that went into a football game more prepared mentally than Kenny Anderson, for sure.
Well, you know, Dave always said that I spent a lot of time studying. You know, the night before a game, I'd kind of wake up in these panic attacks, and I had forgotten the whole game plan. You know, it's just 4 o'clock in the morning, and I can't remember a thing. And so I'd quietly go into the restroom and put all the seats down in the toilet, get my game plan out. And, of course, you know, 30 seconds, it all comes back to you. It was just more of a panic thing. But I tended to be a little nervous the night before a game, and Dave helped calm me down.
I love it.
Kenny would he'd get up early. He was an early riser, and I'd sleep like a bear, man. I'd hibernate. Kenny had to wake me up for pregame meal. I would have slept right through it, man. Crazy.
Guys, take me back to that time period where obviously NFL salaries were much different, and many players worked in the off season. I assume you guys had off season jobs. What did you guys do in the off season for jobs, if that was the case?
Wow. Well, my first one, I got my real estate license. And, at that time, commercial and industrial real estate wasn't real big. And, and I was with a firm, it was Bob Daniels over in Northern Kentucky. And one of the guys that was in the office was Jim Huff. I should have stayed with it because Jim Huff Realty has gone really big in Kentucky. But, at that time, it was a little bit frustrating, showing houses to wives that couldn't make up their mind. So I kind of got out of that a little bit, and then, spent 5 off seasons going to law school.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah. The law school, man. My thing was, I said, all right, well, I'm going to eliminate vocations if nothing else. So I'm going to try a different thing every off season. And substitute teacher, knew I didn't want to do that anymore. Didn't want to get into the teaching world. I worked at Eagle Savings and Loan, worked in their advertising and marketing department, enjoyed that. It was a good experience. But then Bob Johnson, who owned Imperial Adhesives at the time, Bob Johnson purchased Imperial and then he sold it. And he's gone on to be he's a heck of a businessman, bought and sold multiple companies and done extremely well. I worked with him quite a few off seasons selling industrial chemicals, and then I went to work with industrial adhesives, I should say, and then I went to work with a company called Texo and sold industrial chemicals, and I liked the sales part of it. Then started doing games as well as that sales position, and then decided to just kind of work my way over full time into the broadcast world.
Love it. Stories. Let me pick your brain about it since it's Steelers week. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about some Bengals Steelers games past. Kenny, I'll start with you. Take me back to November of '74. You go 20 for 22 against the Steelers. The same game, Glenn Edwards is ejected for a clothesline of you along the sidelines. And I'd forgotten this until today in watching the tape. You tracked down Mike Wagner on a sprint to the sidelines to tackle him to save that game. Take me back in your memories of that game.
Well, one of those games that they were going to kind of sit back, and they were known to play, cover 2, a 2 deep shell. They wanted to take away Isaac Curtis, our down the field thrust. We just kind of picked them apart, thrown to the running backs, and we had some big fullbacks in those days. Doug Dressler with the days before, Pete Johnson. They didn't like tackling those big running backs, and so it was a close game. And as you said, I'm scrambling one time and I run out of bounds, and it seemed like I was about 5 yards out of bounds, and you're starting to relax, and Glenn Edwards comes and clotheslines me. And I'm hearing Birdie's tweet, and, I'm seeing spots, and, in those days, you just kind of, there's no concussion protocol. You just, you go back in, and, so it's a close game. We got the lead, and I think I hit Charlie Davis for a big pass down, inside the red zone, and then handed off to him. And he's tackled, and he puts the ball on the ground, rolls over. The refs never blew a whistle. Yeah. And Wagner picks it up, and he's going to go for about a 90-yard touchdown. And luckily, I had a good angle on him. And the thing I'm most proud about is I was an all-conference safety at Batavia High School. So I played a little defense, and it was a perfect form tackle, head across the bow, wrapped him up. It wasn't pushing him out of bounds. And Mike and I knew him from my college days. We'd scrimmage Western Illinois before the season, and that's where he went to school at. And we've always been, friends for a long time. I said, "You must be the slowest safety in the league if I can catch you."
Yeah, I'll tell you, he's humble though, Lance, because people don't realize what a great athlete Anderson was. I mean, Kenny ran 4.6, maybe sub 4.6, and he and Dan Issel were high school basketball players together. Kenny Anderson went to Augustana, basketball and baseball opportunities, forget football. This guy was a stud athlete, man. He could run, he could do anything you want. And, he showed it. He showed it in many times during the course of his career. And that was one case right there. That was a huge play in that football game.
One of the things I want to say, I want to give Paul Brown a little bit of credit because you couldn't get away with this nowadays, but after we had warm-ups as a team, after we did our calisthenics, we all did routine warm-up, which was form tackling.
Yep.
And so I would pair up with another quarterback, and you would make a side tackle and actually tackle him and roll to the ground, go to the other side and do a head-on tackle. And now we weren't doing it full speed. It was just all form tackling, but we worked on tackling every position every day.
Yep.
Dave, take me back to November of '76. Not to bring up a memory of a loss, but I want to bring up the memory of the weather, because you guys lose 7-3 that day at Riverfront. You called it one of the strangest games you ever played in. I swear that day it snowed like 3 inches at halftime. It was nuts. I still remember the Sports Illustrated cover shot of Franco Harris running through the blizzard against you guys. What was that day like?
Yeah, I mean, as I recall, Rocky, we were up 3-0. Rocky Blyer scores a touchdown for the Steelers to give them a 7-3 lead. And like you said, just a storm blew through, and there was snow all over the field, and they were shoveling the yard stripes and with brooms and shovels and trying to keep them all clean. And the thing was it was a matter of who could stand up, literally. And I remember some of the defensive linemen for the Steelers actually took their cleats off, thought they'd have better traction and tried to play in their stocking feet. I mean, it was just a miserable day. And I remember driving home after the football game. A neighbor of mine would get caught in some traffic, and I was not anywhere near where he was, but he got caught and stopped on the highway, and he got into it with a few Steeler fans, and he was the only guy, and there were 4 of them, and he didn't look very good after that little skirmish. He came to the neighborhood kind of beaten up. So it was like, oh my gosh, man, this is terrible. But yeah, that was a strange game. Mother Nature was not kind to us in that football game.
I got a couple more memories from that game. After that game, they changed. You didn't have to make the decision which end zone you wanted to go to or who wanted the ball. Well, there was no deferring in those days anyway. And
right.
The rule because conditions changed at halftime. And then so now it's snowing. We got all this on the ground, and when you had AstroTurf shoes in those days, were kind of like the spikeless golf shoes today. I guess I would describe it. And so Tom Gray sends one of his assistants down to Spinney Field to get Isaac Curtis's grass shoes. So we're backed up at about the 5-yard line, and I throw one down to Isaac. We got the midfield right along the sideline, and so we're going down now the score, and it's 4th down, and we're going, and we're down about the 15-yard line, and the play is called to the left, and Chip Myers to the right. I said, Chip, I'm throwing to you in the corner of the end zone. And I dropped back, and the easiest way for me to go was to go back, fall down, and get up. That was the quickest way, and I did fall down, get up, and throw it to Chip. I think we win the game, a touchdown, and their defensive back got one finger on it and tipped the ball away.
Oh, man.
Yeah, you're right, though, Kenny, because we had a 3-0 lead, and there was clear field and everything. Going at halftime, come out, man, it's snowing like up in the North Pole. I mean, it was a blizzard. It was crazy.
Take me to December of 1981. You guys win at Three River Stadium 17-10. You clinched that day. And Kenny, you've said it was perhaps the most satisfying win of your career. Tell us about it.
Well, they always said at that point in time that the road to the Super Bowl goes through Pittsburgh. Yep. And in those days with Forrest Gregg, we always, if we had a road game, we would go have our Saturday practice on the road, and we would practice in the stadium. And we had extensive workouts on Saturdays. Players today would not stand for that. But I remember we're in the stadium, and our locker rooms were next to each other with the Steelers and the same tunnel we both came out of, but one on one side, one on the other. But I remember, we're out practicing, and Lambert, who was kind of always a little goofy anyway, comes out and yells out there, Anderson, I'm going to kick your ass tomorrow. I chuckle out of that. And so one of the key plays of the game, I think the last touchdown pass, Kreider caught it, but the set on the 3rd down, it's 3rd and 6, and we got a quarterback draw called. And Lambert comes up and yells, watch the quarterback draw. And I go, maybe I should audible here. No, let's keep it on. And go down perfectly, and I make, if it's 3rd and 6, I make 8 yards for a first down. I just started to laugh at us. And thanks for kicking my ass, Jack.
The thing I remember most about that game was after the game, we come back to Cincinnati, how the fans showed up at the airport. I mean, they showed up at that airport when we won that game in Pittsburgh like we, had won the world championship. I mean, people were going crazy. I remember coming off the coming off the plane and, going into the gate and walking through the airport. And there were so many fans that are going absolutely nuts. It was a good time.
As physical as that series has been over the years and rough and tumble, Kenny, I remember you telling me the story in the past few years of the level of respect to the point of, I believe it involved an invite to the sauna and beers after a game. Tell that story if you could.
Well, obviously, it's a big rivalry, and I think in those days, Dave, it was a rivalry and it was physical. It's always, bring an extra lunchbox for this one, an extra chin strap, and it's going to be a physical game.
Yep.
But both teams respected each other, where
Yep.
I think that respect is gone nowadays. I don't know when it ended, but it's not there anymore. But I think it was 79, and it's late in the year, and that was the worst Bengals team I ever played on. We were awful, although we did beat the Steelers pretty convincingly earlier in the year.
We did.
So we're getting beat, and Joe Green sacks me again in the fourth quarter, and he's laying on me. And he says, Kenny, why don't you come in the locker room for a beer after the game? So I showered quickly, and I just walked next door, and I said, well, that sounds like a pretty good deal. And the first guy I see is Bradshaw, and he's doing his media interviews. He sees me, he stops the interviews, and he takes me into the back of the locker room, and they turned off their sauna, had a garbage can full of beer. So now, of course, the sauna's packed, and there's like 3 levels to the sauna. Bradshaw chases a couple of guys away, and I'm sitting in the front row with him having 2 or 3 beers, feeling better about life. And I go out to catch the buses to the airport, and they've gone. How do I explain that I got fined and had to buy a plane ticket from Pittsburgh to Cincinnati because I'm in the Steelers locker room drinking beer? And so I'm walking around the stadium trying to find a cab to go to the airport, and there goes Tom Gray in the equipment truck, and I run and I flag him down, I chase it, and I ride in the back out to the airport, and for some reason the plane is late. And in those days, we could just drive the equipment truck right up to the gate, wait for the plane, and the guy lets me in the side door. And as I said, we were having a tough year. I wasn't having a great year. The team wasn't. And, at first I'm a little upset. I said, the starting quarterback's not there and they don't know. Then I started thinking maybe they know, they just don't care.
Oh, man. I can tell you many times, Lance, riding on that bus after the game, going to the airport, Kenny would always, be good to the visiting equipment guy, take care of him, and then so the equipment guy would take care of Kenny and put a few beers in a bag, for Kenny, and he'd be on that bus having a couple of adult beverages and stick the beer cans up top, in the little luggage rack area, and bus would take a turn, those cans just start rolling. we hear those beer cans rolling the bus, like, okay, man, he's doing it right.
That is excellent. Let's talk some teammates, and let me go one specifically because all 3 of us know him, and you guys played with him, and I've worked with him, and I could spend a whole day talking about Bob Trumpy. But whenever I mention his name, it brings a smile to my face. Take me back to the playing days and your memories of Bob Trumpy as a teammate. Kenny, I'll start with you.
God, I hope he's not listening. No, but I always say, to people that Bob was Gronkowski before Gronkowski. He was a 6'5", he was a big tight end. He could block the edge on the line of scrimmage, block a defensive end, control the linebackers, but you could split him out as a wide receiver, and he could run a wide receiver routes, which a lot of people weren't doing in that day. So he was just a talented tight end. But back in those days, it was a little bit different. A lot of guys smoked, and every ashtray in the stadium had an ashtray in it. And I remember that, Bob was one of the guys, we couldn't make a halftime adjustment on the board till they went in the shower and had a smoke so we could come out and make adjustments afterwards.
Yeah. I just remember how, like you said, Kenny, the athlete, Bill Walsh was doing things with him that, they're doing now, and they think it's still revolutionary. Bob Trumpy literally in the program was listed as WR/TE, wide receiver / tight end, because he could, he was capable of doing both. And I just remember you and Bob Trumpy hooking up on the old triple pass, double reverse, pitch back to the quarterback, triple pass, and remember burning Don Shula with it, and Shula going nuts because got caught by the triple pass with you and Bob Trumpy making that big play. And yeah, Trump was incredibly athletic, size speed ratio stuff, and big broad coat hanger shoulders. I mean, I've never seen broader shoulders on a guy, and I knew sports talk was not a big surprise to me, because I know on the plane, Glenn Cameron, who's now an attorney, and myself and Trump, we get into these little debates, and Trump, he should have been on his high school debate team, because the dude he would disagree with you just for the sake of disagreeing, come up with reasons why, 5 minutes later take the other side of it, and try to beat your butt that way. He was unbelievable that way. In his mind, he never lost a debate, man.
Well, he always liked it because, he kind of knew he was going to retire, and he had a chance to do a sports talk show, one night a week while he was playing. And Paul Brown says, you're not going to do that. Bob said, yes, I am. There's nothing in my contract to prevent it. So he gets ready for his first show. He says, Kenny, will you be my first guest? You're the only guy on the team that can't cut. That was his very first guest on the sports talk shows.
That's great. Let me ask you guys about play calls. And Dave, I want to ask you about a running play and Kenny a pass play. Dave, give me a favorite during your days together. Give me a favorite running play, like a go-to play that in the huddle, when that was called, you were ready to go because that's something that always worked for you guys. What would that play be?
Well, I think a running play that would come to mind for me would be in our 1981-82 season. We went to Super Bowl 16 with big old Pete Johnson, 46, 47M. Nothing fancy, just an off-tackle play with that big old beast, just hammering it up behind you. And Pete was so it was thick, man. It was hard for one guy to bring Pete Johnson down, and rush for over 1,000 yards. And 46, 47M was, running off right tackle is 46, running off left tackle 47, and we got a lot of mileage, a lot of distance out of 46 and 47M running the football like that. I think that was our bread and butter play with Big Pete.
Kenny, how about a pass? Give me one of your favorite pass plays.
This is from Lindy Infante. It's 2, flip wide, short, 60, Y option, X smash. So I'm gonna drop back 5, and Danny Ross is running an option right on the right side. And most likely was going to go to him because he and I had kind of a connection. He could go in, out, break in, break out, hook in, hook out. And if that didn't work out, then I'm working a 2-man game with Isaac Curtis and Chris Collinsworth on the backside.
I'll tell you, though,
I think that was the play that beat Buffalo in the playoff game. That was our winning touchdown. That Chris came in on the smash route and scored versus Buffalo to give us the 28-21 win.
It was unbelievable to watch, though, Kenny and Dan, like Kenny said, mental telepathy, because he would play off of that defender, and the smash was like he would take, if the guy shaded in one way, he'd go the other. Kenny would put the ball in the air before it actually happened and know where Danny Ross was going to be. It was unbelievable how, talk about throwing with the anticipation and accuracy. I mean, he and D. Ross had that play down cold. I mean, nobody could stop it just because of the excellence of those two guys.
All right, Lance, I got to tell you one thing that normally this show, we're coming to you live from the Keystone Light studio in my garage in Hilton Head. So during that time, we have all my golfing buddies come over there, and I think they come for the free Keystone Light. I'm not, making any pretense about that, but I've always got somebody on the set feeding me another Keystone Light. So would you ask Lapham a question? My son did not take care of me with. I'm babysitting for 5 days, not one beer in the fridge when I get here. So
Can't believe it.
Own. So ask Lapham a question. I've got to go get another Keystone Light. They are the sponsor, and it is happy hour after all.
Priorities, man. Priorities.
There you go. Absolutely. David, I'll ask Kenny this as well. Take me back to the college days. When you come out of college, had you not been drafted, what would Dave Lapham have been doing in the time after college? What would your career have been had it not been as an NFL player?
That's a great question because, I started out pre-law at Syracuse. I thought I wanted to be Perry Mason, and they had a Maxwell School of Citizenship there at Syracuse that was really highly rated, highly regarded for undergraduate pre-law. And because I unfortunately got good grades in high school and got accepted to Harvard and didn't go. My mother wouldn't talk to me for a year while I was at Syracuse because I didn't go to Harvard, but Harvard, Dartmouth, the Ivies and everything. But I wanted to play a higher level of football, and So I thought Syracuse was the best combination, academics and athletics, and started with the Maxwell School. And then I was doing fine academically. I just didn't like the law books like I thought I would. And so then I went into the Newhouse School of Communications to try the journalism part of it and communications, and did some public relations, communication stuff, got a degree there. So I assume I probably would have done something in that area, but I may have ended up selling something probably, because that's just that's basically marketing and communications on a one level with you and the person you're selling to, trying to sell yourself and or your product and all that sort of thing. Probably would have done something like that. Or honestly, I probably, if it hadn't worked out, I probably would have done something where I could have coached, whatever job I had, whether it be high school or whatever level, just coaching offensive line initially, and then seeing how far it could go. And I know Kenny got into the coaching end of it, and I was thinking about Forrest Gregg made some overtures about going up to Green Bay when he was up there in coaching, and when I was doing Big 12 games, a couple of Big 12 coaches, Mac Brown and Les Miles, when he was at Oklahoma State, asked about coaching possibility. That was my dilemma, was either the coaching or the broadcasting part of it, but decided to do the broadcasting because I didn't want to hopscotch around. My family really liked Cincinnati. It turned out being a good decision because both my kids are still here, grandkids are here, so the family settled in Cincinnati, so it was a good decision that way. But I still have a little what if in my mind about the coaching world, and I know Kenny went that route and won himself a Super Bowl ring, and that's good stuff.
Kenny, other than drinking beer, what would you have been doing had you not been drafted into the NFL?
Well, I said my idol growing up was my uncle, and he lived with us. When I was born, he was in high school. Both his parents had passed away, and my dad was the oldest one in the family, and finished raising him. And he was a high school math teacher and high school football and basketball coach, and that's what I wanted to do. And so, I'm at Augustana. It's my senior year, and there's an opening. He's now at New Trier High School in Chicago, one of the better schools, up on the north side of Chicago, and had an opening for me to coach with him. And then I get drafted by the Bengals. And I said, Gary, if I go do this, I lose that job. And then he said, Kenny, if you don't try it, you're always going to wonder, could you have made it? And he says, besides, they're going to give you a $7,500 signing bonus. Your first year teaching salary is $5,000. You can afford to live here. But we just had somebody pop up on Facebook, and their question was, and this is from Andrew Williams. And it says, to me, the 75 Bengals teams is underrated in franchise history. I think we were a pretty doggone good team in 75, Dave.
I agree with you, Kenny. I mean, we lost 2 games to the Pittsburgh Steelers that were anybody's football game, and we lost to the Cleveland Browns. Greg Pruitt. I mean, Greg Pruitt went nuts. I think we were 8-1. They were 1-8 or something. They beat us. I mean, I couldn't believe we lost to the Cleveland Browns, and Greg Pruitt went off, as I recall. But 11-3, I mean, really, really good football team. And I'd say that team, and obviously the 81-82 team, man, that offense was dynamic. I mean, we were pretty good, Kenny. You MVP of the year, of the league. You can't do any better than how you played. But man, we had a good group. We really did.
A thing I remember about that year is Pittsburgh wins the division at 12-2.
Right.
We only had one wild card in those days. We're 11-3, and if I'm not mistaken, I think both Houston and Cleveland were 10-4. They might have won any other division in the AFC, and they're not even in the playoffs. And we go out and we're playing the Raiders. They had Ted Hendricks. They played that 34 defense, and that's when kind of you always put a running back in those days on the outside linebacker, and I remember. It's a 4th down call. We had a great comeback. I think we're only down by 3 points. And Myers is coming right across the middle. It's going to put us in field goal range. And I got the running back couldn't handle Hendricks. And, I got sacked again. And after that, season, all of a sudden, people started changing protections to slide or pull the guard out to block the outside linebackers after that. But no, the 75 was a pretty good team.
It was, yeah. It started with molly protections, slide protections, all those kind of things. It was a good football team for sure. There were a lot of good players in that football team. I mean, Chip Myers, like you talk about, Charlie Joyner was an option that year for you. I mean, that's another really good receiver in the Hall of Fame. Isaac Curtis, yeah. I mean, that was a good group, man. Trumpy at tight end.
Tell me about Paul Brown. Tell me about what his presence was like in a meeting room. I mean, my image of him on the sidelines and the hat and the arms folded and such a commanding presence to me. But what was he like when he walked into a meeting room, Kenny? What was it like when Paul Brown, what was your head coach, and walked into a room?
Well, first of all, he was not a big man by stature. And he would walk in after a game, and he had his black coaching shoes on, his khaki pants. He had a plain white T-shirt on and a black baseball cap on that just said CB for Cincinnati Bengals. And if the meeting started at 9 and he walked in the room at 5 minutes to 9, you were late. So everybody's always in there early. And you never wore a gray T-shirt to the meeting after a game because that's when he would critique everybody. And the pit stains from the sweat would show up on a gray T-shirt. So you always had a white T-shirt on and a towel around your neck. And he never raised his voice. But it would be, Anderson, it looks like this game's a little too big for you. Maybe it's time to find your life's work. Oh, that's the one that really hurt it. He would kind of go and, like I said, he had his yellow legal pad and he would go and make all the corrections for a game, never raised his voice, but he would cut right through everything and just lay you open.
Yeah, that legal pad. Oh, remember that bad boy. He'd get up there on the podium, the day after the game, and he's studied the 16 millimeter tape film of the game, going back and forth with his projector, reel-to-reel projector, and you get up there and it's like, man, he just very few words cut you to the quick, and like Kenny said, those gray T-shirts, everybody had pits down to their waist, oh, I hope he doesn't call on me. And I remember one time, my rookie year, I was on the extra point field goal team and I got my pads too high, and Walter Johnson and Carl Barisic in Cleveland got up under my pads, and I was like struggling to get my feet back on the ground. I ended up on my backside. Now we made the extra point, but it was not a pretty scenario for me. And I'm kind of like looking around, like, where is he? Where is he? It was the special teams film they were showing. We all watched the special teams reel as a team. And he like gets right up on my ear behind my shoulder, and he goes, "You look like a cat that got run over by a truck. We can't have that." I'm like, "Yes, sir."
We just had another question from Peter Hilson, wanted to know how we would play the game this week against the Steelers with the team that we have today. And, Dave, you're in there all the time. But I think one of the keys this week with that Steelers defense, which is the strength of their team, is pass protection. And then they like to blitz. They've got a variety of blitz packages. And I think one of the things that, was concerning to me was the Baltimore game when we didn't have many answers for that double A gap blitz and the things that they were doing off of that. And they kept running it because we couldn't protect it, had no answers for it. And, we're going to have to be really sharp against the Steelers our pass protection against their blitzes this week, because I think our defense is playing better and we can kind of slow their offense down.
Yeah, I think it's a twofold thing. Ben, and him as well as anybody, Kenny, after the elbow surgery, he looks like he's throwing it better than he's thrown it in a decade. And the thing he's doing is getting the ball out of his hand in 2.1 seconds, quickest in the entire league. I mean, 2.1 seconds, you don't even need an offensive line. I mean, he's getting it out. They've only allowed 10 quarterback sacks because of that, getting the ball out like he's doing it. And they have 32 on defense. They've got 32 sacks. That plus 22 sack ratio is the best in the National Football League. Compare that with the Bengals are minus 17, 32nd in the NFL. So we're talking about line of scrimmage stuff. Pass rush, pass protection. Are the Bengals going to be able to compete? Because, man, Pittsburgh brings it, like you said, Kenny. I mean, 32 sacks. They've got the most quarterback hits. They got the most tackles for loss. I mean, it's a pressure party. And, Keith Butler, he brings them all. Everybody's invited to the pressure party. And he's got this Holton, the cornerback, the nickel corner. He's got 3 quarterback sacks. they have 11 different guys involved in the 32 sacks. So he's bringing it from everywhere. And you're right, protection, then turnovers because of all that pressure. Last year they led the league in turnovers. This year they're second. They're tied for first in interceptions with 11. So that pressure, they allow less than 57% completion percentage, which is best in the NFL by far. Nobody else is under 60%. The pressure makes them throw it quicker. Turnovers happen. You're exactly right. I mean, you gotta give your quarterback a chance. The encouraging thing is Joe Burrow got the ball out of his hand against Tennessee very quickly as well. I mean, it was a quick passing game. Get it out like an extension of the running game. And I think that's going to be a big key in the game. Can Joe Burrow and Ben Roethlisberger, who's going to get the ball out fastest with the best results? It's going to be a big key.
Hey, Lance, you got to run here. You got to go to work now. You got to do your show coming up. I got one question for you. You're kind of a Cincinnati guy. You kind of grew up, watching, us play a little bit. And then you end up in Chicago. You're in a big market and you're doing radio, you're doing TV. How did you end up back in Cincinnati when you were in Chicago?
It's the classic case of one door closing and another opening. I was on AM 1000 in Chicago. Actually, I had moved from South Bend, Indiana, where I worked in TV for 4 years. Went to Chicago and did TV at a 24-hour news channel called CLTV. I helped them start up a 24-hour TV channel there and did that for 2 years. A lot of exposure and a big opportunity. I was then asked to do afternoon drive sports talk radio in Chicago on AM 1000. They paired me with the former Chicago Bull and Cincinnati Royals guard, Norm Van Leer, a dear friend who has since passed away. But we did radio for 2 years together, and I'll never forget, they called us into a station meeting, and they said, we want to thank everybody for your time and your efforts here. The station has been sold. And starting tomorrow, we're going to flip the format to news, talk, and some music. Your services are no longer needed. Here's a package, and leave your key card at the door. And I had always been told in this business, you haven't really worked in the business till you've been fired. So I had officially been fired for the first time in my life. And for about 6 months, I wondered what I might do if I wanted to do radio, if I wanted to do TV. And the opportunity of a lifetime for me came up. A gentleman by the name of Gary Bruce, who was working then on what became 1160 Bob.
Yep.
Bob Trumpy remembers those days. Dave Lapham remembers those days. He said, how'd you like to come back to Cincinnati, do sports talk, be a part of the Bengals radio network? And I'll never forget, before he completed the sentence, I said, when do you want me to start? That was 1997. And I've been back ever since. And truth be told, I say this and I don't say it lightly. It's the best gig I could ever ask for. I do it till the day I can't do it anymore. And the fact that I get paid to talk about the teams I grew up with and hang out with guys like you, I enjoy every single minute of what I do, and I look forward to it every day.
Well, Lance, you do a great job, and I love listening to you. But more importantly, thank you for always helping out me and the Ken Anderson Alliance. Whenever we've got an event and I need some promotion, I give you a call and you put me on the air right away. And I appreciate that so much. And, just want you to know that whenever you need me, you've got my number. Give me a call. I'm always there for you.
I'd like to just say one thing about Lance as a professional. I mean, we talk about pros pro, in football or whatever sport. Lance McAlister, pros pro in the broadcast world. I mean, no stone is left unturned from a preparation standpoint. The guy loves, like he said, it's obvious he loves what he does, because people don't realize and understand how much time he puts into it. And I mean, it's a 24/7 thing with him. And it's when your job, when your vocation, your avocation are the same thing, you're a lucky guy, and nobody does it better than Lance McAlister.
Well, get out of here now, Lance, because I don't want you to get fired because you're doing this with Dave and I, and you're late for your show.
Hey, guys, thank you. I will admit, when you asked me to do this, I was honored. Then when I went home and thought about it, I got very nervous, because I watched you guys and I've worked with you guys, and then I had to sit and do Q&A with you guys, and I didn't want to blow this, but I had a blast, and it's easy to do good things with good people, and I'm honored you asked, and I hope we can do it again sometime.
Well, I count on you we're going to take you up on that. Thanks, Lance.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Have a good show, Lance.
Thank you.
Hey, Dave, we had a question popped up, and it was about the Super Bowl. About it's from Randy Davis. What other plays were considered instead of running Pete Johnson in the Super Bowl? I always thought they should have rolled Kenny out with the option to run or throw. I tell you what, we were so successful with Pete all year.
Yeah.
We threw the one pass to Charlie Alexander, and we stopped short on that. And, we ran Pete, and it didn't work out. But, I'd go through – I'd give it to him 100 times out of 100 in those situations.
Yeah, you're right, Kenny. I mean, the first down, we pick up a good chunk on 47M, and then we, like you said, the Dan Buns made a hell of a hit. Charlie Alexander makes a great hit on Charlie and stops him short of the goal line. We get stopped on the run, but I can understand the fans' frustration because, like we talked about, I've talked about a few times, and it's true. You were the second leading rusher on the football team, and we ran naked bootlegs, in the goal, inside the 10-yard line, inside in the red zone for sure, inside the 10-yard line some, and give you that two-way go. But like you said, Kenny, hindsight's always 20/20. I mean, Pete Johnson scored a ton of touchdowns running 46 and 47M, and you just got to give the San Francisco 49ers credit where credit's due. They made plays, and we had one issue on one of them. We were in pretty good shape. We had a guy that went in motion, ran past somebody at the line of scrimmage that should have been blocked, and he wasn't. And now all of a sudden, Pete's hitting the backfield, and he has a hell of a run just to get back to the line of scrimmage. So 49ers made plays, but we made mistakes as well, and we turned it over too much. We made mental mistakes, and that's what you can't do in those big games. So that game still gives me nightmares, man. I mean, around Super Bowl time, I always think, we had 4 giveaways, 4 turnovers, and made mental mistakes. We still were within one score of that football team. We just didn't play our best in that big game for sure.
Chuck Studley was their defensive coordinator. It used to be, with the Bengals when
Yep.
Bill Walsh was there, and I had talked with him, after the fact on that, and they were ready for me to try to run a bootleg. So I don't think that play would have worked as well, and but it's certainly. Boy, that wasn't our best game of the year, and you give the 49ers a lot of credit, but I will go to my grave thinking we're still the better team.
And I hear you. I mean, it is. It's one of those deals. I mean, that was the first game, I think, the first Super Bowl where the losing team outgained the winning team.
And had more first downs.
Yeah. I mean, and just didn't finish, and just gave the ball away too much. And, man, have nightmares thinking about it. It's crazy.
Well, one story I'm going to get you out of here, Dave, is I remember, I'm the MVP of the league. We room together, and we get off the plane. We get to our hotel in Pontiac, Michigan, and we walk in, and there's no bed in the room. I think, we got a suite. I said, oh, great. And then there's 2 doors, and they're all locked on either side, and the only bed in the room was a pull-down bed. And I like you a lot, Lapham. We're not going to spend the week sleeping in the same bed together. And luckily, our business manager, John Murdo, found something else for us down in the lobby.
I mean, that was crazy. That was nuts. And people always say, can't believe you guys had to play a Super Bowl in Pontiac, instead of playing in a nice weather place, and you guys play in Pontiac, Michigan. And it's like, I don't care, man. I'd play in Alaska or, North or South Pole. It's a Super Bowl. But that was crazy. And that seeing that room, I'm thinking, so I thought the same thing at first, like, yeah, I'm with the MVP, man. How many rooms do we have in this suite? How big is this bad boy going to be? So that's classic.
Dave, thank you so much for helping me out tonight. I really appreciate it. And, bring us home a window this week, will you?
Man, that'd be sweet. That'd be a big, just what the doctor ordered there. Undefeated Pittsburgh Steelers. But what's amazing, Kenny, is right here's the difference in the 2 football teams. Games decided by 6 points or less. The Bengals are 0-4-1. Games decided by 6 points or less. Pittsburgh's 4-0. That's a difference. It's a small difference, in just making a play here and avoiding a mistake there, decides these football games. Half of them are decided by a touchdown or less. A quarter of them are decided by a touchdown or less. Half of them are decided by a field goal less. It's crazy. It comes down to a play here, a play there. So Pittsburgh's they blew out Cleveland. That's the only game they've won by more than 10 points. But they're winning, man. They find ways to win football games, and as you know, Kenny, good teams do that.
Yep. Well, I go back to the first time we played Pittsburgh in the '79 season, Dave. They came to Cincinnati. We're 0-7. They're 7-0 on the way to a Super Bowl, and we beat them 34-7. They didn't cross midfield till the fourth quarter. That's why you play the games, and we got a great quarterback, and I think our offense is coming along. And like I say, it's we got to figure out their blitz packages this week, and I think we got a good chance at it.
One thing I remember in that game, that 34-7 game in '79. Wilson Whitley, for whatever reason, his matchup with Mike Webster, and I knew Webster pretty well. We played in some college, came out in the same draft, played in college all-star games together, and Whitley gave him fits. And he and Terry Bradshaw fumbled 3 exchanges, center quarterback exchanges, because Wilson Whitley was giving, Mike Webster so many fits. You never know what matchup is going to be a factor in a game. It's every team has different strengths at different positions and match up differently. That's why there's a story in every single game.
Well, Dave, we'll be listening Sunday, and like I say, bring us back a winner. We sure appreciate you, buddy.
You're the best, Kay, and congratulations for everything you're doing with the Ken Anderson Alliance and all the people that are part of what you're doing, man. That's outstanding stuff.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it. And now, Kevin, I want to bring you back in, and one of our exciting things that people not enough people know about is going to our O2 farms on Tuesdays and Fridays and buying our lettuce. We did that the other day and got a bunch of it and brought back to all the family, and wow, were they impressed with that.
Excellent. Yeah, we wish we had more spots for it, but we do currently Tuesdays and Fridays. We have curbside pickup of our lettuces from O2 Urban Farms. It's at 3420 Glenmore in Cheviot, and you can come anytime from 11 to 1:30 and pick up lettuces there. It all supports our work training program where we employ adults with disabilities, and it's just a wonderful mission, but also the product, that you, just like your family saw, the quality of the lettuce, the quality of the product is, world class. It's above what you typically would get at a grocery store, and we're excited to be highlighted at a new area restaurant, Ivory House. It's using our lettuces for their salads, and that's pretty exciting.
Well, I tell you what, we're going to have to kind of bring this one to a close, Kevin, and, want to remind everybody to get on KenAndersonAlliance.org to get your raffle tickets. Our next show is going to be December 10th. We're not going to do one on Thanksgiving, so it'll be December 10th, and we for sure will draw for the jersey and the helmet that night. And if you buy a few more tickets for that dinner for 4 with Christy and I at Walt's Hitching Post, we could draw that one as well. But right now, I got to tell you that normally I'm in my garage and I've got a lot more flexibility for my Keystone Light studio. Now we're babysitting our 1.5-year-old granddaughter. I'm hearing sounds from the top of the stairs. It's her dinner time. So we've got to feed her. So we're going to kind of call it a night tonight. But Kevin, we'll see you
Fair enough.
And looking forward to this. And I think we've got some exciting guests. Make sure you turn into the website. I'm confirming them now, but it's college basketball season going to start. And I think we might be into that a little bit on our next show. But always go to Ken Anderson Alliance. We'll fill you in with what's going on.
Yep. Kenny, thanks tonight. Great show. Have a good evening and go feed that baby.
Got to. Thanks, guys.
Bye.